Welcome everybody, and welcome you listening at home today. My name is Tom Spitaleri, founder of the Essex County Ghost Project, and today we're going to do a mismatch of things. We're going to be talking about haunted Essex County, but I'm throwing in a few extra things and making Essex County a little bigger than what it usually is. So just bear with me and we'll get through this. So we're right here in Lawrence at the Lawrence Heritage State Park, which was a boarding house. Right across the street from the canals is the old Pemberton Mill site. I actually have a brick from the original Pemberton Mill. We went down there on the anniversary of the Pemberton Mill back in 2010, and the activity was out through the roof as far as paranormal activity taking place. We got a whole bunch of stuff. So the original mill, for anybody listening at home or even here, is actually in the parking lot of the new mill over here, which is now housing, but now it's a parking lot. And I've gotten some word recently that that new housing mill has some paranormal activity in there from people I trust. They've heard footsteps up above their apartments and nobody's running around up there. So that was quite interesting. Lawrence being a mill city, most of these old mills would have some sort of activity, because anytime you had the Industrial Revolution, you have a lot of death in the mills, poor working conditions, and everything else that goes on there. Cemeteries like Bellevue, probably about close to 10 years ago, maybe 50, we went out to the Tomb of the Unknown. And you can use anything as a pendulum. It was so much activity that the pendulum kept swinging like this real fast. It wouldn't stop swinging. We went back 10 years later to the day, and pardon the pun, there was no activity at all. It was deader than a doornail, the pendulum. So that's another thing that can happen. Some days it's active and some days it's not so active. The next town over, the Tenney Gatehouse in historic Methuen, Massachusetts. This was taken, and you can come up later on, I'll point it out to the people that here. This here was taken at the gatehouse, looking up the hill, walking up to what is left of what is called Tenney Ruins. And this light was there, but when you blow up the picture, you see two eyes and a body in that picture there. So that's one of the gatehouse pictures. Another gatehouse picture. These got turned around, but that's all right. This was up in the turret room of the gatehouse. When we were doing public events over there, which we do a lot of, we haven't done many over there in the last few years, but we weren't allowed up in the turret room, but we were allowed to put a camera up there for the public to see, and that's what we came off the video cameras with. Some more of the gatehouse here. This was taken with an infrared camera. You can see some stuff here. This is near the Searles Crypt, where Edward Francis Searles, who was thought to be murdered, so they exhumed his body from his crypt, took it to Pine Lodge in Salem on Pond Street, and then brought it back to Methuen, but put it back in the wrong crypt. So that's another interesting story. If you know where the Waldo House is, which is now Pollard's Funeral Home, across the street there's a little stone monument with a roof. It looks like a doghouse. Suppose if you walk around there 2 or 3 times at night, you'll hear the dog, Edward Francis Searles' dog bark. I've never tried it, so I don't know. But that's one of those write-ups that were in the paper for years. Another great write-up happened off of Howe Street in Methuen. Martin's Tree Farm in Methuen, no longer in existence. They built a 55 and older housing unit over there. Yes, on Tuesday, October 25th, 1963, this was actually taken out of the Eagle Tribune. The family was watching TV in the family room and noticed a wet spot on the wall. So you're watching TV, you notice a wet spot on the wall. First thing you think, ah, it must be a pipe. It's not raining out. If it's raining, you might think, oh God, the roof is leaking. It was nothing going on. For 2 hours while they were in the house, the water kept gushing out every 20 seconds. They know where it came from. The fire department was called, city officials were called. They couldn't figure it out. The family left the Martin family farm and went to his mother-in-law's house on Andover Street in South Lawrence, not too far from where we are today. I won't give that address out, but that house is known to be purportedly with paranormal activity in it. I've known people that lived in that house for years. They no longer live there, so we've never formally investigated it. But the water spouts followed the Martin family to Lawrence. So everything was checked. There was nothing going on. And the roof was declared safe. There were no broken water pipes. And then all of a sudden, if all the media shows up to the house, it's titled in one book, Water, Water Everywhere. It's only in a couple paranormal books, but it was in the Tribune all my life on Halloween. It's part of Haunted Merrimack Valley. And all of a sudden, one day, the Martin family said they had no more paranormal activity. It stopped. And that was back in '63. They lived in the house until the early 2000s. And by the early to mid 2000s, the house stood vacant for about 8 to 10 years. And then it was torn down. And a 55 and older community was built on that land. And I haven't heard about water spouts anymore. But that was in a couple books, so I found that to be pretty interesting, especially since it's from my hometown and in the neighborhood I grew up in, too. I buy that on my bicycle all the time, that house. Essex County is one of the oldest counties. In fact, some parts of Newburyport and Haverhill, which would have been Haverhill, not Lawrence back then. And of course, we all know the basement of City Hall was used as a hospital and a morgue during the Pemberton Mill disaster. So there's some activity in that basement. I felt it. I had no pictures of it. And I remember what we did that night because it was a fundraiser. It wasn't a formal investigation. So I'm just trying to remember. I do remember the picture, though. And of course, where you have a morgue, there's always going to be energy left behind of sorts, or a cemetery for that matter, or even a funeral home. There's quite a bit of funeral homes in this city that were turned into private homes that have some issues. Well, we won't discuss those to an extent that I want to, because they're now private homes or businesses, so we leave that alone. But just a general statement that these buildings do consist of paranormal activity. A lot of Lawrence has paranormal activity. It was a mill community. People worked here, they lived here, they died here. And some people weren't ready for the next world, whatever you believe in at home. So. Heading next door to the city of Haverhill, we have the Dustin Garrison house here. That place is loaded with spirits, all the way from the basement to the attic. It never displaces us when we go over there doing fundraising. We have plenty of activity going on there.
I read about that place in the
Who?
Garrison House.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but I've heard about it.
We'll be there Friday night. We'll be there Friday night. This Friday night, tomorrow night, yeah. Oh, yes. Plenty of activity in there. This here's the old Pentucket graveyard in Haverhill. My throat started burning over here as I was channeling. Come to find out, this row of stones that you see here, they're all within 1 or 2 days of each other, them dying. Well, what happened was throat distemper came through Haverhill and wiped out families within days of each other. So what I was picking up is the burning throat sensation. I didn't know that until the next day when I looked up the family and saw that how tragically their lives ended. And these are all different shots. Again, a light anomaly up there. That's the Jewish cemetery in Havel, which is in the area of what I call the Canosa Triangle, up near Canosa Lake in Havel. If you went up to the Civil War Monument, corner 125 and 110, and go like this, you have the Canosa Triangle. The Jewish cemetery is in the area of the haunted bridge site where Whittier wrote about paranormal. John Greenleaf Whittier, the famous poet abolitionist, and that whole area has paranormal activity in it. There are homes, locations, the Jewish cemetery. One day we did a Tom live show on County Bridge Road that runs behind the Jewish cemetery. We're doing a live show, and all of a sudden it felt we had like spider webs over our heads. The energy levels were just ridiculous. We found the location of the old, what we believe is the old Whittier original cabin, and that had a lot of activity. Another time I was down there, I saw a guy walking, and I followed him with jeans and a leather jacket on. Didn't really look like he belonged in today because the jeans actually fit the person. And then he walked along 495 because that County Bridge Road goes along 495 out behind the Whittierville Technical High School and comes out on East Broadway. But there's another road that runs right along 495 where you see the rest area. And he disappeared on me. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us there that day, keeping an eye on things. You just got to keep air with the time because they got something else going on today, just remembered. So that was an interesting area, let's put it that way, having that guy show up.
I bet that New Hampshire has some interesting coast areas.
They do. There's the Salem-Wyndham-Derry Triangle, the Ossipee Triangle, which is part of the Salem-Wyndham-Derry Triangle. That whole area, Salem, Big Island Pond in Derry, that area there, there's been UFO sightings all over the place up there. Shadow figures have been seen at the Frost Farm in Derry on Route 28. Everybody probably knows where the Frost Farm is. On Route 28. In fact, somebody just reported a shadow figure they saw in broad daylight to me there. Yes, when did I get that message? Yesterday. One of my team members spotted something because he went to go investigate a UFO sighting in Hampstead the night before. And he actually saw some burnt stuff on the ground. They're going back out there looking around. So yes, southern New Hampshire, and then you got America's Stonehenge. And then you have other stone outcroppings. Stonehenge dates back 4,000 years ago. They don't know who built the thing, not ghosts, but then you have the Danville Beehive, where there's hundreds of those all over Danville. The only one you're allowed to see is the Danville Beehive because it's on public land. All the rest are on private properties. And that dates back probably close to, it was like 2,000 some odd years ago. Give or take about 140 because of stone carbon dating. There's a little leeway you got to give. So that's all stuff to really think about. Manchester, we've done homes all over Manchester. We've done mills in Manchester. It's a very active area. Amoskeag Mills, yes, we did them, but I can't tell you where we were in there because it was a private business. But the Amoskeag Mills are so big that I could actually get away with saying we investigated it, but I can't tell you where.
There are many mills all along the North Atlantic coast.
Yes. Well, this was the industrial heartland of the Industrial Revolution. Anything along the Merrimack River, the Connecticut River Basin, the Piscataqua River up in the main the Concord River, I mean, that was the Nashua River. They ran mills. And mills gave jobs to hundreds of thousands of people throughout New England. So that's just Hilldale Cemetery, another great location for paranormal activity. There's a ton of stuff in there, from orbs to photographs to different mists, apparitions being seen, full body, partial body, heads coming out of the ground. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to see. There really is. But not only do we have UFO sightings, not only do we have paranormal sightings, as I've discussed, but we also had Bigfoot sightings in the 70s in Newburyport, Methuen, and in Haverhill. I had a guy on one of my radio shows once before telling me I couldn't use his real name. I don't even know his real name. But he told me up near Silver Hill School in Haverhill, when he was a kid, that was all apple orchards, which I did confirm it was. And I talked to the cop he told me to talk to, and I got to confirm, and the police report, but they don't want their names released. A couple of them are well-known Haverhill people, you know, of power. So they don't want their name, which is understandable, because if you don't believe and you want to harass somebody, that's the best way to do it. So I won't release the names, but they said 1978 up on Silver Hill, there were sightings of a Bigfoot. There were sightings in Newburyport. There were sightings in Methuen, the Andovers. You go back throughout New England, you'll find that there were a ton of Bigfoot sightings in this area. Of course, they've died down in recent years because the amount of building and development, you know, loss of habitat, and they want to stay hidden from the world. The other thing we do have, the famous Gloucester sea serpent. First sighted in 1648 by an English traveler who wrote journals of an account with the second and third passes is seen off the coast of Gloucester, Rockport. Similar creatures have been seen in all the way from northern Maine all the way down to Florida. So we do, and of course you have the Rockport sea serpent, the Gloucester sea serpent, Cape Ann. That's all Essex County. I believe it's the same creature. Just they got a different name for it in every community. I actually believe even all of these sightings along the coast may be of the same creatures. So, but the ocean holds so many depths that you can't ever know what's in your ocean. Just like space. Ocean is just like space. It's never going to be fully mapped out or fully seen.
Imagine there would be many types of items on the floor of the ocean, many sunken ships and boats, various types of debris, many different types of plants.
Right. So that's something more to think about at home while you're thinking about things. We also have lake monsters even up in Manchester, New Hampshire, Glenny at Lake Glen. There was a mill lake in Manchester to power the mills in Manchester, just like Arlington Pond was developed to power the mills here in the Arlington Mills in the great city of Lawrence. Wherever you go, no matter if it's here in Essex County, northern Maine, southern Maine, Vermont, Alaska, they have areas that are very high in paranormal, UFO, Bigfoot activity. Those are called, as my friend Paulito would say, flap areas. Triangles is another word used. I call them angles and other things. They're just one big area where there's a lot of stuff going on, where it fits the gamut of a lake monster, a sea creature, kind of like the Bridgewater Triangle over here, Ossipee angle, the triangle that goes from Salem, skirts 93 all the way up to Jefferson, and then comes back down this way, and it makes a triangle. The Bennington Triangle, some of the other ones that are not as well known because they were just started. Obviously the Canosa Triangle, which I coined, the Sandown Triangle, which is an area of Sandown that's got a lot of hot spots of UFOs, Bigfoot, and everything else. So with all these areas out there, there are known, well-known paranormal activity. And as long as the activity stays this well-known, we're going to continue to have sightings and everything else. I want to thank everybody for tuning in at home. Thank the people who came out today, Lawrence Community Access TV, for filming this event today. Last weekend, a big event, till the end of, till next year. But you can come out, you need any help with your home investigations, right, just reach out to Essex County, we'll help you out. And I want to thank everybody, and we'll see you all in the paranormal. Good day.